have, either work in performing arts libraries or who manage special collections of circus arts, performing arts in academic institutions.
Okay. You know about the major orchestra librarians group, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a whole bunch of librarians for you right there that are in musical performing arts.
That would be wonderful. Let me write that down. Thank you to everybody who is just joining us. We'll get started in a couple minutes. If you want to use the chat, you can tell us where you're joining from or what careers and pathways you're interested in as high school students.
Okay, so I'm trying to find my chat button so I can monitor the chat.
And just to let you know, Kim, I will be moderating too, and I can, at the end, read the questions out to you.
Terrific. That will be great. As I told Leslie, I'm highly easily distractible. So if someone asks me a really cool question, I'm likely to just take off after that question. And it's easy to do because I think that what we're doing and what you guys are doing in terms of the skill set that you're getting, it's just like the coolest stuff in the world. Okay, so.
I had a question.
Yeah.
Do you think it's true, this statement is true that if you travel, if you're willing to travel, you'll open your ability to have more jobs? And has that ever, is that relatable to your experience as a librarian?
That's a great question. The way I've heard it framed is if you are willing to relocate, then your options of landing a job that you will love are more likely than if you are not willing to relocate. That's especially the case when you are interested in a certain kind of work. For example, for a while in my career, I was interested in getting a job in publishing. And then I realized I wasn't going to be leaving Denver, and there was one small publishing company in Denver. So for me, if I'd seriously been interested in working in publishing, I would have needed to move to LA or San Francisco or New York, maybe Boston. For people who are looking for academic librarianship jobs, those are often, it's often necessary to relocate for those because they don't come up very often. If you are having a really difficult time getting your foot in the door in a library job, but you're willing to relocate and you're looking at a public library position, if you're willing to relocate to, for example, a small or rural area, they may be more willing to hire you for that job. Another way to answer that question is there are some contracting organizations. For example, Beth Mazur's company, which I think is History Associates, they contract with archivists and catalogers and taxonomists and library and information professionals all over the country to do project work for specific organizations. And so if there were, say, a 6-month project at the Library of Congress, and they had contracted with Beth's company to bring somebody in, and she couldn't get anybody in DC, then if you were willing to move, to relocate for that 6-month period, then that would be a great job possibly for you. So the answer is yes, depending on what kind of situation you're looking at. But the bottom line is being willing to move and being willing to relocate translates into flexibility in your career. And that's always a career asset for you. You have more leverage with potential opportunities if you're willing to relocate.
Thank you.
Okay.
That
Excellent.
answers my question.
Okay.
Okay, well, I guess it's 6:30, so we will get started. First of all, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. The event is being presented by the SJSU Special Library Association Student Chapter. I'm the Assistant Programming Director, Leslie Perry. The SLA Student Chapter aims to provide leadership learning opportunities for our members to aid in the development of practical skills for our future careers in special library work, while creating meaningful, lasting connections among all our members and in the broader special libraries world. We're very excited about our event tonight featuring Kim Dority. Kim is the founder and president of Dority and Associates, an information strategy and content development company. She also works with LIS professionals to help them create optimal career paths. She is also the official career advisor for the San Jose State University iSchool.
Yes.
Go Spartans.
Right.
Kim's career has included multiple information projects and consulting engagements across many organizations and industries, including academia, telecommunications, publishing, marketing, and public relations, and multiple online startups. She conceptualized and created the first online academic library, leading a team of over 100 academic librarians who helped to develop the library's content and resources. She is also the author of many articles and books, including, and we'll link these for you in the chat box, Rethinking Information Work, a career guide for librarians and other information professionals, and the LIS Career Sourcebook, Managing and Maximizing Every Step of Your Career. We're very excited to have her join us tonight. So if you could please save your questions until the end of her presentation, we will open it up for Q&A. And if you want to use the chat box in the meantime, the programming team and I will be monitoring that. So without further ado, please welcome Kim Dority.
Hello, everyone. And I am going to start this presentation off with just a shout out here, because I'm now looking at the names that I recognize in the chat box or in terms of participants. And I would like to give a shout out to your faculty advisor, Dr. Cheryl D.
Hey, Kim.
Hi there, Cheryl. The reason I want to give Dr. D a shout out is because she is known far and wide as the most outstanding faculty advisor for a student SLA group that anyone knows. I mean, I had the honor of working with Cheryl when I was doing some other work with SLA. And so this is just to tell all of you, if you're already in the SLA student chapter through the iSchool, good on you. If you're not, don't miss an opportunity to sign up with the SLA student chapter so you can experience working with Dr. D, because she is a true asset of the program. And so, Cheryl, I'm honored that you are with us tonight.
Wouldn't miss it. You know I'd be ready to go.
All right. So with that, I'm going to try to mute not mute myself, but I'm going to try to close down my video here. So Leslie, can I ask you to just close down my video? So
Yes.
Great, thank you. So what we're going to talk about tonight is jumpstarting your career in grad school, otherwise known as how to hack your degree program and double down on your tuition payments. Because what I want you to focus on while you're in grad school is not so much your GPA, which we know is important, and we know that most people in MLIS programs are like perfectionists, but I'm here to tell you this is not the most important thing for you to be doing while you're in the program. We're going to talk about what is instead. So the first concept that underlies everything else we're going to talk about is the concept of professional equity. This is what you build throughout your career that opens up an increasingly diverse and financially rewarding and personally rewarding set of career opportunities for you. So those three things are what you know, that's your domain knowledge. What do you know how to do? That's what you're learning while you're in grad school. The second thing is who you know, otherwise known as your professional network. You want to build professional relationships with as many people as possible, not just because these are relationships that you can exploit when you go to look for a job, but because these are colleagues who will share your values, they will share your interests, they will share a lot of your same passions and sense of commitment to your work. So building that professional network not only helps you over the long run of your career to have jobs, to create jobs that sort of come in and land in your lap instead of having to go out and find jobs, it also provides a depth of personal benefit that is simply amazing. For example, just the fact that I know Dr. D and I can have a conversation with her is more rewarding to me than I can possibly tell you because I admire her so much. The third piece is who knows about you, and this is your professional visibility. This is what you want to work on while you're in grad school as much as you can. So you're already picking up the what do you know piece automatically. What we're going to focus on is how do you now start building the who you know and the who knows about you pieces. So tactic number one is you're going to set your personal, your own career agenda. So here's the deal. When you start grad school, everybody's got an agenda for you. The college has an agenda, your instructors have an agenda, the profession has an agenda for you, otherwise known as ALA accreditation. And a lot of times your employer or your significant other or your parents may have an agenda for you as well. Completely understandable, doesn't make them anybody a bad guy, but what it tells you is you're going to need to be the one to set up your own agenda, and that's going to be an agenda that helps you get ready to have the career you want. So this first tactic is where you're going to lay out what you are going to accomplish while you're getting your degree, to start building those kinds of career opportunities for when you graduate and you want to look around and say, oh, cool, I could do that thing because I've got contacts there. I could do that thing over there, or maybe that thing over there. So what does that look like? You're going to sit down and think about what goals you would like to have met by the time you walk away from the program. Who do you want to have connected with? What skills do you want to have learned? What publications, perhaps, do you want to have done? What leadership roles do you want to have taken in the SLA student group? What presentations might you want to have made at the annual conference? Assume it comes back at some point and we actually get to meet in person. But even virtually, I mean, you go to one of the best environments ever for doing virtual presentations for the Library 2.0 conferences. So you have multiple ways to set reachable goals around things that will help boost your career opportunities. And then what actions are you going to take to support those goals? So goals are, here's what I want to have accomplished. Actions are, here's how I am going to accomplish those things. having goals without identifying what your actions are going to be is, what is it? A goal is a wish without something or other. But basically, goals don't work unless you've also thought through and figured out how and where you're going to do your actions. Okay, multipurpose your assignments. When I teach, I always start off my course by saying, I want you to hijack your assignments whenever it's possible to still meet the learning goal. But what I want you to do is figure out if there are ways for you to hack your multipurpose your assignments that help move you toward that more visibility, more connections. So the first thing I would say is use your assignments to reach out and connect with someone you would like to connect with. So say you're doing an assignment on trends in XYZ. This is a great reason, otherwise known as excuse, to reach out to someone that you have admired and say, I'm a student in the iSchool program. I'm doing a paper on this, and I've always admired your writing on this topic. Could I interview you for your perspective on this so that I could include it in my paper? That's a great way to connect with someone you may want to get to know. It's a great way to start laying the groundwork for establishing professional relationships while you're still a student. So think about ways to connect with people through your assignments if you can. The next one is, and if those of you who are getting ready to graduate, I assume that you are currently freaking out about your portfolio. But those of you who aren't there yet, part of what you're going to be doing in the program is creating the portfolio that indicates and provides evidence for what you have learned in the program. But now I want you to take that a step further. I want you to think about your portfolio as signature projects that you have worked on while you're going through grad school that you can talk about to a hiring manager. So you're not just thinking about documenting, I learned how to do this. You're thinking about, my instructor was working on this really cool project, and I got to be the research assistant on that project, and that enabled me to do writing of a certain type, or to research a certain type, or to do a survey that I created from scratch, or whatever. Building your portfolio is how you tell a prospective employer, not only do I know how to do cool stuff, but I have actually done cool stuff, and I can show you examples of that. So again, think about your assignments for every single course and whether or not they lend themselves to building that professional level portfolio for you. A third way you want to use your course assignments is to create visibility. This gets back to that, who knows you? What do they know about you? When someone says, Ann Conkle, what comes to mind? Because they've gone online and seen this incredible article that Ann did, or they saw a presentation that Leslie did at the California Association of Libraries, and so that has stuck in their mind. Leslie has created visibility for herself by presenting based on perhaps an assignment that she did in one of her courses. Perhaps we have had you write an article based on one of the assignments that you did in class. You realize that this fits really well with one of the topics that people are doing an all-call. We'd like to have students write on this topic for us. Perhaps you've done an assignment that lends itself to be treated as an article, and you can submit that. Whether you are presenting or writing, doing writing that will be findable online, or volunteering with associations like All of the Board for the SLA student group, you are creating visibility for yourself as an engaged professional and someone who takes the profession and professional knowledge seriously. This is what you want to be doing. And if you can do it as part of your assignments, why not double down? Okay, so tactic number 3 is about creating your own learning assignments. That means if you have a course with me and one of my assignments is to do an online presentation on some topic. Well, maybe you've never done an online presentation before, but you know it would be valuable for you to learn how to do this. In that case, I want you to come to me as your instructor and say, I have no clue how to do this, but I want to use this course to learn how to do it. Can you help me, point me to some learning resources? That's one way to think about creating your own learning assignments. But here are some other ones that I would strongly encourage you to focus on before you graduate. The first one is learning how to write for a non-academic audience. Now, I know that as you're going through grad school, it is critically important to learn how to write in the style and according to the standards that define scholarly writing. And that's appropriate, and I think that's great. However, when you leave the confines of academia, you are going to have to write, unless you're going into an academic library, you are going to have to write in a completely different manner. Instead of including all the information you found and citing all those sources and doing a deep and broad and thorough dive into whatever topic you're writing about, when you're writing outside of academic environments, you want to write with the idea of just enough information. You need to provide just enough information to clearly and concisely document your case, describe your ideas, present a persuasive argument. It means organizing your ideas in a logical order that clearly states your findings, rather than broadly developing an idea. Most people in non-academic environments write to get to a decision. Your writing will probably be decision support. For example, a lot of what I've done the writing, and I've done a ton of content development work, which is writing for online environments. The writing that I do is to provide information about a topic. And I want to make it as easy as possible to get to that information. And so I need to write in a way, again, clear and concise, state your key points with confidence, and then, if asked to, back them up with the appropriate documentation. If you were an information specialist working with a client who said, I would like you to research this topic for me and tell me what I need to know, they're not asking for, I found these 20 articles and an annotation for each one of those articles. They're looking for a one-page executive summary that says, I surveyed the literature, or I surveyed the research reports for the last 10 years, and the consensus is 1, 2, and 3. Based on this information, the answer to your question would be ABC. That's how you need to think about writing once you get out of academia. So as you write for your assignments, go ahead and follow your APA style. Do exactly what your teachers are asking you to do, but always keep in mind, if I were writing this for my boss or for an article in a magazine, how would I format this? How would I write this? Next thing to learn, this is your own learning agenda, is how you learn. For example, I can't learn by listening to things. I learn by reading things. Other people read things and it doesn't stick, but if they hear them, they've got it forever. One of your challenges as you're going through your courses is to experiment and see what helps you learn most quickly, most effectively, and with the highest rate of retention. It will be different for all of you, but this is the great thing, is that you can be testing all of this and experimenting with it as you're going through the program. And this is one that sort of nobody thinks about, but this may be one of the most effective professional skills you can have, and that is learning how to make small talk. If you can make small talk with the person who is standing behind you in the grocery line, both of you with your masks on because we are in the midst of the pandemic right now, if you can engage them in conversation that gets them to open up and warm up to you and tell you about their day, or they ask you about the work you do, and you get to be excited about the fact that you are learning the coolest stuff, and you tell them about it and they respond to you. These kinds of seemingly trivial, almost superficial engagements will lead you to more possibilities than you can possibly imagine. So even if you're online and you have fellow students, make small talk with your fellow students. Ask them, what they do for fun. Ask them if they've got a pet. Ask them what they're doing in grad school, what they really want to be when they grow up. Anything to form a conversational bond of connection that allows the two of you then to start building those relationships that I had mentioned earlier. Okay, tactic number 4, this is the huge one. Explore how many different ways your LIS skills can be used. I'm here to tell you there are literally hundreds of ways. And I'm going to mention for you one place to go check this out, and Leslie will post this information for you. There is a site created by an amazing woman named Naomi House, and it started out as IneedALibraryJob.com. That quickly got shortened to INALJ.com. And what Naomi has done there is created a platform for people to offer a gazillion different kinds of jobs that are outside the traditional academic or school or public library jobs. If you peruse that site, you will quickly see an overview of all of the different ways that information skills can be used. In addition, if you go to the career development section on the iSchool website, there is a section on alternative LIS careers there. And that's where I've started building out, here are all the different things you can do with these skills. Also, I wrote a book called Rethinking Information Work, and don't anybody go buy it. You don't need to buy it. You can probably get it online through the library. But chapter 4 of that book is all about non-traditional LIS jobs. So this is sort of the whole special librarianship field. It's not about special libraries so much anymore. It's about special librarianship as all of the different ways that we can use our superpowers, or information superpowers, for organizations to help them achieve their strategic goals. And there are, as I said, hundreds of different ways to do that. So, okay, how are you going to do that? I would say the first thing you want to do is to start exploring the profession. Hopefully you're in the SLA student group. One of the reasons that you want to be in the SLA student group is so you can look at their member directory. And you can go through the membership directory and see, what jobs do these people do? What titles do they have? What skills are they being hired for? Another one is to take, for example, those job titles that you see on INALJ and run them through the LinkedIn jobs function. See what comes up. See what jobs are being advertised. See what people have really cool jobs. If you just start looking around, you will find that there are lots of ways to get a sense of all of these really cool things that people are doing with their skills. The LIS Career Options, by the way, is a LinkedIn group that I started, I think it was maybe about 8 years ago. And it's another way, I think that if you join this group, you can go in and search the members for specific job titles, and you can just peruse the members and see what kind of jobs they have. Although that one might be a little overwhelming because I think there are over 13,000 members in it now. But at any rate, you want to explore the profession every chance you get by seeing what titles people have. And by the way, the snapshot report, the job skills at work report that the iSchool does every year is a terrific resource for that. It's in the career development section. And Leslie, I can't think off the top of my head what the URL is for that, but I will be happy to track that down and share it if somebody else doesn't come up with it first. But that's updated every year and shows you what job titles you could be searching on. This is a really interesting aspect of all the different ways you can use your degree or your skill sets, because there are so many different approaches to this. The ones we think about are in terms of types of organizations. Generally speaking, for students going into a program, are academic, school, or public. But there are also gazillions of government agency information jobs, like working for the National Park Service, like doing archives for government agencies, like doing research for government agencies. Corporate business is so broad in the types of work that you could do there. You might be in a what's traditionally called a special library or a corporate information center, or you might be embedded in one of the operational units, like in the patent searching group, or in records management, or in the market research group. Same thing with nonprofits. Think of nonprofits as another type of organization, just like corporations, only they've got a different mandate. They're usually focused on a mission of some sort that is about improving the world, and they need the same kinds of skills. They need researchers, they need librarians, they need donor prospecting researchers, they need records management, they need archivists. So don't think, oh, I don't want to work for a business, and then dismiss these kinds of alternative jobs, because you could easily work for a nonprofit and it would be the most amazing thing you ever did. Startups are also an interesting group to work with. because startups, generally speaking, have no clue what they're doing. And so that means that you, as the information professional, can come in and sort of make up your own job, because they have so many information needs, they don't even know where to start. So that means they don't know what to pay you, and they don't know what to call you, both of which mean you get to make both of those answers up yourself. Another group is associations, and that could be a trade association like the American Marketing Association. That could be a group like the MS Foundation. Other things could be like a research institute, like the RAND Foundation, or the RAND Institute, or the Pew Research Group, or a policy think tank, or a community development group. Another type of organization is what you would call social entrepreneurship or social innovation, where organizations are trying to meet societal needs using a for-profit business model, and most of which are embracing something called a corporate B status, which means that they adhere to a very clear set of values and social commitments and community development ideas. So all of these different types of organizations are something you could be exploring while you're going through the program, thinking about, what do I want to be when I grow up? How many different ways can I use my skills? And then lastly is the more sort of broadly thinking LIS career paths. Usually when you go through grad school, you'll find that you sort of gravitate to a certain kind of information work. That might be working with people. It might be working with systems. It might be working with content. It might be working with data, which is the emerging type of information that is exactly like library work, only instead of revolving around books and content, textual content, it revolves around data and data patterns and data indicators. So as you go through the program, you're going to be exploring not just what work would I do and where might I do that, but where does it fall within sort of the overall types of work that information professionals might want to do. For me, the answer there was content creation, because I had a writing background and I loved to research. And so I always had this drive to connect information with the people who needed it to make a decision or change their lives for the better. For me, that translated into content development, but it could be any of a number of things for you. Okay, number 5, explore what type of work you might enjoy. So this means when you think about, as I was just saying earlier, the kind of work you do might be people-oriented, it might be systems, it might be management, whatever. But this one is focused on your personal work preferences so that you can try to find work that reflects those characteristics. That might mean I want a job where I do outreach. I want a job where I think I might want a job, excuse me. All of these are I think I might want. I think I might want work that had me, that took me into media, the media industry. I think I might want to do work that took me into the healthcare professions. So your job is to start thinking about what kinds of preferences you might have in the type of work you might enjoy, and then take, again, back to your assignments, take every opportunity to connect with people who can tell you more about those possible career paths, and then lining those up against what you think your career preferences or your work preferences might actually be. So those might be your work environment. Do you want to work in a large organization or a small one? Do you want to work with a startup or an established company? Do you want to work with a big team or a small group? These are the kinds of things that you want to look for in terms of your working environment. Your work structure is also, it is, this is an interesting option now, because for the past 20 years, whenever I have negotiated a new job contract, as I've taken it on a new project, I have always negotiated that I got to work from home at least 1 day a week, if not 2. And I have given up some salary perks in order to have that flexibility. And it has always been controversial and drove everybody crazy. Well, now it's no biggie. So if you want a very flexible work structure, then you want to look for a job that isn't built around seat time, but is instead built about the job, the work that you get done. If you want a 9-to-5 job and you want your weekends off, that's going to dictate a certain kind of job. If you are the kind of person who loves to work really, really hard on a project and then wants to take a week and kick back and do nothing but take your dog for walks, that means you're a project person. And you will be happier with a job or career opportunities that are built around projects that ramp up and then a recovery period. That's the way I am, and it took me a long time to realize that I don't flourish in a regular do the same thing day after day after day routine, because then there's no break for me. There's not that adrenaline rush of the give it all you've got and then the recovery period. And so I ended up structuring my career so that that works better for me. Here is another option. You might decide, as you're looking at career opportunities, job structure, all of those things, that you want to do a little bit of everything. Here's the really good news. With your jobs or with your information skills, you can do a little bit of everything. You can be an employee and do freelance stuff on the side, otherwise known as side gigs. You can do all freelance work, which is known as being an independent information professional. You can go back and forth between the two, which is what I have done probably for the last 20 years. I hate being an employee. I hate anybody telling me what I can and can't do. But what would happen is somebody would say, okay, we've got the coolest job for you, Kim. And, we're going to make you VP of content development for the whole site and all of this great stuff, but you can only do it if you're an employee. We need to have you on board. We need to have you in the what do they call those documents that you take for a IPO, initial public offering, those kinds of things. So I would say, okay, I will be an employee, but in my mind, I knew I would be an employee for maybe 2 to 3 years until the project got up and running, and then I would transition back to my own business where I got to work with clients and do other projects and that kind of thing. So what that means to you is your first job when you graduate is only your first job. It doesn't define who you go on to be, what kind of work you go on to do, or what structure that work is done within. What it means is you can change that up over the entire course of your career and do it however you want, in whatever ways make the most sense for you at any given moment in your life or your career. So tactic number 6. This is sort of, remember I said that a goal without actions doesn't really count? Well, this is the way you hold yourself accountable. I would recommend that you start a career journal and record stuff as you're going through your programs. For example, record the name of a guest speaker that you want to follow up with. Record the name of someone that you heard present at a conference and you want to reach out to for an informational interview. Record an idea that you had about a really cool information service that you could offer. Record a question you had about a career path and note, okay, I need to find somebody I can interview who's doing this kind of work to learn more. A career journal is really how you capture what you're thinking as you're thinking it, so that when the next assignment hits and you get hijacked and you have to pay attention to that, you haven't lost all those cool ideas. So what are some things you might have in your career journal? I would say career questions, some career answers, things that you found out, career action items. These are the really important things. And a to-do list is not there to guilt you. It's there to remind you when I'm in between sessions and I want to do one thing to advance my career, here's one thing I can do. Tactic number 7, make the most of the school's resources. And this is where we all fall down, and I was as guilty as anyone when I was in grad school. There are 2 resources. The first one is the library. The library is really important because the librarian can help you find books about careers in the field that you're interested in. He or she can help you get access to journals and periodicals in that field that you can read to get a better sense of trends and what people are doing and figure out if that really seems like something you'd be interested in. Librarian can help you research companies and, even equally importantly, if not more so, help you understand how to research companies using the library's resources, which you won't have access to after you graduate in most cases. Librarian can help you learn how to research industry trends, identify identify research reports about the career paths that you're interested in. Possibly figure out how to do career research on the internet if you don't already know how to do that. And also, if you befriend a librarian, he or she might be willing to keep an eye out for cool stuff that they know is of interest to you. This is in the field of what you're trying to figure out. Do not feel like because you are library students, you should already know all this stuff, and so it's cheating for you to talk to the librarian at the King Library. That is not the case. They are there to help students, and you are a student. Equally important, we have this wonderful person named Carrie McKnight at the San Jose Career Center. She is the student liaison for grad students at the Career Center, and she and I have had wonderful conversations. She gets it. She likes high school students, and she loves to work with you. I as your career advisor, I can help with a lot of stuff, but Carrie sometimes can move more quickly. And when it comes to resumes and cover letters, Carrie is the bomb. Carrie knows this stuff so well. So I would say at some point, check in with Carrie and just say, would you look at my resume? Or would you tell me what the resources are at the Career Center for doing mock interviews? And they've got these really cool tools to do that. If you don't use the Career Center, which your tuition dollars are paying for, you're missing out on a huge bet. So use the Career Center. Student groups like the one you're in right now, this is one of the smartest things you can do to build that bridge from professional in training, which you are as a student, to professional at work, which is where you want to be. As many times as I can say it, there is nothing quite as valuable as becoming active in a student group. Tactic number 8, practice doing scary stuff. This is like being in grad school is like having what in the business world you call a sandbox, where you can try a whole bunch of different things, and if and when they screw up, no harm, no foul. So that's the way it is in grad school. So because that's the case, you want to practice doing the things that kind of make you freak out when you think about them. One of those is giving presentations, whether it's virtual or at a conference, or at your local public library on a topic that you have pitched to them that you happen to know a lot about. The more presentations you give, the less frightening it becomes. I know that sounds like I'm gaslighting you there, but that's really true. As someone who is an introvert, I had to learn this the hard way, but it really is the best thing you can do. Give as many presentations as you can. Learn how to make decisions. If you can't get good at making decisions, which is a process that is unique to you, you're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities. So practice how you make decisions as you're going through grad school. Even if it's about, should I take this course or should I take that course? Make that decision by developing a process for how you evaluate choices that you can replicate over and over again, which gives you confidence in the decisions that you make. And needless to say, everybody's favorite thing, group projects. Collaborating is one of the greatest skills you can learn in grad school, because as Scott Brown, who many of you have had as a professor already, and if you haven't, you need to, as my dear friend Scott said to me, life is a group project, and he couldn't be more correct. All right, tactic 9, and I'm going to go quickly so we have time for questions here. Practice being a high-value contributor. That is going to be what people are looking for in terms of who they are hiring. So this means that you are a person who brings positive energy into whatever job you're doing and whatever group you're a part of. It's about being energized and engaged and helping yourself, not asking other people to, but helping yourself move toward your goals. One of the reasons that this is important is that you guys are working so hard right now under such difficult circumstances to do what you are doing, to get the degrees that you are getting, that it is really difficult to not be overwhelmed. If you are feeling overwhelmed, consider this a hug going out from me to you. You have every right to feel that way, but you want to feel it, and then when you can, let go of it and realize a positive attitude will help get you out of where you are to where you want to be. Another thing to focus on is to find your strengths. One of the things that when Sandy Hirsch, Dr. Hirsch, was in charge of the program, one of the things that she and I talked about was the fact that a lot of hiring managers were telling us that they were frustrated because people would come in to apply for a job and not be able to articulate why they should be hired for that job. So part of what you want to be doing as you are going through grad school is saying, wow, I'm really good at this, and this is something that I bring to the workplace. When a fellow student or a faculty member says, you did a dynamite job on that. That was incredible. I've never seen anyone be able to do that quickly. Or I didn't think we'd ever get through that without your help. Pay attention. Those people are telling you what your strengths are, and you want to make sure to note those in your career journal so that you can build on those, but also so that you can talk about them. And then lastly, in this tactic is to focus on resilience. I think it's pretty clear for all of us, we have no idea what the future is going to hold. And consequently, we're going to need to be able to bounce back. And so flexibility, adaptability, and resilience are going to be our core competencies. Tactic number 10 is to take a leadership role in your program, your career, and your own future. Don't wait for somebody to step up and ask you to do something. Instead, see an opportunity, step up, and volunteer. Take responsibility for your choices. That gets back to the decision making. And take responsibility for your outcomes. And that's not just learning from failure, but it's also recognizing your successes and letting yourself own them. And for anybody who has a difficult time with that, read every book ever written by Brené Brown, B-R-E-N-E, Brown, B-R-O-W-N. First book, I thought it was me, but I thought it was just me, but it's not. Okay, quick recap. Set your personal career agenda. Multi-purpose your assignments. Reach out to as many people as you can. Create your own learning assignments to run right alongside the coursework that you are doing. Explore how many different ways your LinkedIn or your LIS skills can be used. Explore what type of work you might enjoy, and that can be doing a gazillion informational interviews. Start a career journal. Capture what you're learning. Make the most of the school's resources, especially the library, the student groups, and the Career Center. Carrie McKnight loves you. Practice doing scary stuff. Fall on your face now where nobody else sees it, and you learn from every time you do it rather than waiting to get out in the real world and then practicing it. Practice being a high performance, high value contributor. Be high energy, be engaged, support your team members so they can also be high energy and highly engaged. And then take responsibility. Take a leadership role in your career and your future. So, I sort of rushed through those last ones, but I wanted to be sure, one, that I could take questions now, but two, that you could see my email there, and any questions you have about this presentation or anything else, please just reach out, give me a shout, and I'll be glad to email you a response. Or we can jump on the phone together. And for those of you who are on LinkedIn, first of all, congratulations, that was really smart. And two, I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn. All right, so how about questions?
Thank you so much, Kim. That was so insightful. I know people might want to jump into the chat box, or they can unmute themselves, whatever attendees feel comfortable with.
I have a question, if no one else is asking. Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm just wondering, because things have shifted and we can't attend conferences in person and everything's online, I'm just wondering if you could talk a little bit more about opportunities for giving presentations, because that's something I haven't thought about since lockdown. So I'd be interested to hear, because I feel like that's a really valuable thing to do. So.
Okay, well, first of all, I would suggest that all of you who are considering making presentations online go look at the iSchool's Library 2.0 conference sessions, because your school program, and Dr. Hirsch actually pioneered the concept of a virtual conference. And now every conference is going to a virtual conference. And so what happens is the conference planners put out a call for presenters, and then people submit their ideas for presentations, and then they line up presenters, and presenters present virtually, just like I'm doing now. Some presentations have breakout sessions, some presentations are panels, all sorts of different kinds, but it's basically all online. So if you were thinking, for example, about presenting at I'm not sure if it's the California Libraries Association or California Association of Libraries, but if you were thinking about presenting there, my guess is that their upcoming, at least this year's or next year's conference, is probably going to be online. And so you would go and see if they are accepting proposals yet for presentations. If they are, you would submit a proposal. I would strongly encourage you to consider submitting a proposal for the Library 2.0 conferences that are going on. If I recall, now they've been split into a series. So at one point it was one a year. Now I think they're doing several a year, if I recall. But another example is the SLA conference, was just held online virtually, and they're still beneficial, excuse me, from a career perspective, even if you're not doing a presentation. If I go to SLA's website for that conference, I can see every presenter, I can see the topic they're presenting on, and if I'm interested in a specific career area, I can reach out to the person who presented on that topic and do an informational interview with them. So as far as I'm concerned, presenting at virtual conferences is sometimes easier than getting yourself physically to a conference where you have to fly there and register for the conference and pay for a hotel and all those sorts of things. So I would say assume pretty much all of the LIS conferences are going to be virtual or online for a while, and then reach out and see when they're accepting proposals for presentations.
I absolutely agree with you, Kim.
Oh, great.
The organization to which I belong, both at the local, state, national level, all of them are online, and they're reaching out. They're trying to get people to present. This is the golden opportunity, because think of the cost savings to you to not have to attend and to be able to present. Go on to the websites of all of the major organizations. I know that I happen to be connected with the Medical Library Association very closely. We actually have a student area where we accept presentations, and it's focused on students. And I don't think SLA does. We're campaigning. I know that our school is working very hard for them to do more for students, but I am sure that ALA and many of your local groups find out what's happening at your local level.
Right.
Local is a really good start, and state is a really good start.
And if I can build on what Dr. D just said there, I agree with everything she said. And something I didn't think about is your local SLA chapter, whether that's the Bay Area or Southern California, which is now joining up with the San Diego group, they're always putting on programs. They're doing a lot of presentations. And I just did a virtual conference presentation for the Rocky Mountain Mini Conference. So I would say yes, check with your local SLA organization. And quite frankly, that's one of the reasons why you want to be in the student group, is so that you can reach out to people, say in the Bay Area chapter or the LA Southern California chapter, and say, I'm a student in the iSchool student SLA program. They're going to want to grab you. They want to bring you into the fold. They want to help you succeed. They're excited because you said, I'm interested in this field and I would like to join your organization when I graduate. There is no better bridge into professional opportunities. And if you can say, you know, I'd love to do a presentation on this topic, if that would ever be useful for you, there is a strong likelihood that people would say yes. And again, great visibility. That was a great recommendation, Cheryl. And SLA is not doing what both Dr. D and I wish they were doing, which is focusing on having students present. But there are other groups. For example, ASIST may have a student group. SAA, if you know there's some overlap with records management and archives and those kinds of things, I would look around to all of the LIS groups and see if any of them are having students present. Whoever asked that question, it was a great question.
We might also, as a group, Leslie, and anyone else who's here in the SLASC, to take a look and see if maybe we can do a little research, and we might be able to send it out of different areas that students.
Great idea.
Well, we know more than they do because we have a little bit more experience with it. And let's pass it around. That is such a good opportunity for everybody.
Absolutely.
It really is.
Realize it. Because the travel, you don't have to travel. You don't have to pay for all the expenses. I mean, it's $1,000 in your pocket and you're still going to get the presentation. Leslie, let's see if we can look into that. And Chip, can you help?
I will do that.
And see if somebody can pick that up.
Certainly.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We have a multi-tier in our executive committee where we have a director and an assistant director and a second assistant. And if we move it down to that, a second assistant, that may be just exactly the person that might be able to do this for us and help everybody that's here tonight and anyone else.
So
We have some more questions by people in the chat.
okay.
Great.
Let's see, we had Melissa and Sylvia talking about not having library experience. How can they get skills to transfer for their, for their entry level or, first job, and will volunteering or interning help that?
Volunteering will help you by raising your visibility with professionals in the area where you are interested in working, sort of like volunteering with the local SLA chapter will introduce you to all of those people in that chapter. But if you're talking about volunteering as a way to get a foot in the door for a quote-unquote library job, where this is the biggest issue is in public and academic libraries. If you don't have library experience, and graduate without library experience, and you're trying to get a job in a public or academic library, you're really going to struggle. However, if you're looking for a job in an organization, they're looking at what can you do with this skill? What have you done with this skill? And again, that's one of the reasons I emphasize look for professional level opportunities to do portfolio work while you're going through grad school, because they care about that. What can you do with those skills more than have you ever worked in a library before? An internship is a great idea, especially if you make sure that you use that internship to do professional level work. And if you end up in a situation with an internship where basically you're the clerical help, that's not going to work for you. You want to talk to your field mentor and say, you know, what else can I be doing? Or I'd like to learn this or whatever, or you have that conversation before the internship even starts. But theoretically, with a good internship, again, you're doing professional level work. You are also meeting other professionals. An internship also gives you a great opportunity to reach out to other people who are doing similar types of work, not for competing organizations, but in different types of organizations, and say, I'm doing an internship for a financial services company, or I'm doing an internship for a historical archives building firm. And, you know, how do you guys do this? Or, you know, I'm enjoying it and I'd like to learn more about it. So could I interview you about your job and that sort of thing? Your way to get jobs really is by building your network and your visibility. Because
and that can happen through the professional organizations. Join at
it's
the local level, join at the regional level, and join at the.
yes.
Tomorrow morning, I am going to be meeting with the southern chapter of the Medical Library Association. It's open. It's a business meeting. Anybody could be there. You could be there. And I'm sure that's happening in so many different. This is an incredible opportunity to go to all these places because they're online.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then you listen to the speakers, you'll pick up the speakers' names, you'll find out who's who.
You find out what they're talking about. You find out, does that appeal to me? Yep, couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. So again, no library job, if you're going for public or academic, you need to see what you can do about that as quickly as possible. But in the non-public or academic world, it just doesn't make that much difference. Okay, other questions?
We have one from Daisy.
Could I have tell him a little bit about what he did at an online meeting that he attended to SLA? Are you there, Chip?
Yeah, you want me to talk about the SLA General Conference?
Yes, I mean, he attended a national conference for $50.
Oh yeah, I absolutely recommended
Wow.
it. Yeah, it was fantastic, and a few people from the SLASC board attended. It was extraordinary, the amount of information and people we were able to network with from across SLA nationally and internationally. It was great.
One of the things for you all to keep in mind is that when you are a student, you're under what I would call the student halo, and that means you can get into conferences for relatively cheap.
Yes.
People are looking for students to do presentations in some cases because they're trying to make visible the student voice, and they're also trying to recruit you. And almost anyone in the universe will do an informational interview with you because they're so flattered that you as a student want to hear their opinion and their advice and their counsel, that you have the opportunity to grow your network and your visibility for relatively little money, for relatively little time, and it just blows it out because you are a student. All of that changes once you're no longer a student. So I'd take full advantage of it while you can. And Chip's $50 conference fee just makes me want to cry, actually, but we won't go there.
National meeting, how incredible. A national meeting that can cost like $1,500 minimum.
Yep. Okay, other questions?
Can I ask
one by Daisy?
Can I ask all the people that are officers with our organization to video up so people can see who you are?
I had a question, but it changed because I think you answered it. Do you have any advice for librarians that want to travel? I mean, I think you talked about it in the beginning, but like, how do you look for jobs where you can travel at the same time, you know, just explore many libraries?
That's a great question. I'm not sure I have a great answer for you. The likeliest possibility of traveling as a librarian would be if you were to get a job as an information professional of some sort, doing something with a multinational corporation and or an NGO, an international NGO, non-governmental organization, and part of your work was traveling for that company. Or maybe that you worked for a company whose headquarters was in the United States, but they had a huge presence in Germany. And so you applied for the library or information center job in Germany. So you would live in Germany, but traveling librarians, I think that's something that you would stumble across in a job. Although you could, when you're searching for jobs, you could search in the job description, look under requires travel, or put in as search terms requires travel.
Yeah, I think that would be a complicated search, but yeah, I'm gonna look into it because I think there's jobs out there that like, you know, when you go out to conferences and you have to talk to other librarians, so I'm thinking maybe there's something similar to that. But thank you for answering my question.
Another thing you might want to look at is IFLA, International Federation of Library Associations. And I will give an example of information skills morphing into opportunities beyond what you initially thought of. And I'm going to use Scott Brown as an example. Because Scott is the librarian for Oracle, he works remotely. He works in Portland. Oracle is wherever Oracle is. But after being their competitive intelligence person for years and years and years, in addition to doing that, he was recruited to, and I'm going to get this wrong, but I think he was, part of his job was expanded to do research for a sort of training and brainstorming group for young leaders that they were grooming within the organization. They'd have some topic that they had to work on, and so Scott was tasked with putting together the information package that they used during those offsites. Well, those offsites were in Barcelona. So Scott would be asked to travel to Barcelona as the information specialist to support these activities. So frequently, you will start off doing one thing for whatever group you're doing it for, and then it will morph into additional things if you are open to having that happen. If you're the one who raises your hand and says, I'd be happy to travel all over the world and do all of these things because I have the skills for that, and that would work out. Great question. Would take some doing, but that doesn't mean it couldn't be done.
Thank you.
Sure.
We
Other
have
questions?
a question from Christine. Christine, do you want to mic up, or do you want me to read it out for you?
You could just read it out loud.
All right. Let's see. If we did an assignment on a specific library I want to reach out to for volunteering or internship, should I send them a report as a supplement as well as my resume and cover letter?
So let me see if I understand this correctly. For an assignment, you have in some way profiled the San Jose Public Library, and you want to reach out to them for a job opportunity. And the question is, would you send them a copy of the assignment? Did I get that correct?
Yeah, it'd be like a supplement to the resume and cover letter. I just wanted to reach out to like a specific local library that I did like a participatory planned for that specific library. And I thought maybe, you know, they might be interested, or just as it gives an idea of like how I work and
Yes.
or
Here's
fulfill.
how I'd use that, Christine. Always in your cover letter, you want to make it clear, not that you're looking for a library job, but that you would kill to work for that specific organization. And you want to be able to state in your cover letter, I want to work for your organization because I believe that your program on XYZ is a model for other libraries that are trying to do community outreach, or because I've attended 4 programs over the last year at the library and have been really impressed with the quality of information and community involvement or engagement.
Absolutely. Preach to the choir. Preach
Yep.
to the personal.
So, Christine,
Absolutely.
what you could do is you could say, I want to work for your library because
Yes.
as I discovered when I was doing this piece, this article or document on your library, you guys are wonderful. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but you guys are wonderful. And I can't imagine anything more wonderful than being able to be part of this kind of energy and initiative and innovation. So yeah, that's why I would include it and how I would include it.
Perfect.
But you want to proofread it before you send it and make sure it's like perfect.
Yes, thank you.
And several people proofread it. Hey, praising the library, telling them, and go on their website so that you can speak specifics.
Mm-hmm.
Tell them exactly what you like about their library, their projects, and everything about them.
Yep. Other
I
questions?
think alike.
I learned everything I know from Dr. D.
We learn from each other.
Other questions?
Let's everybody video up if you can. I want to see everybody. I love to see everybody. I'm a visual person. If you've got a video, let's see you.
We've got a lot of people on here.
I know. I'd love to see the people.
Does anyone want to jump in with a final question for Kim?
And we don't mind going over a little bit if there's questions. We're here.
While we're waiting for questions, I will just tell you that, again, you guys are the iSchool program, and I work with a number of grad programs. The iSchool program is phenomenal. Your faculty is phenomenal. You have probably the broadest representation of practitioner skill sets and real world knowledge of any program that's out there. It's just amazing. And in addition, being part of the professional groups, the student chapters, is just like opening a door up to professional opportunities for you. So smart, 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 everything you've done.
I just want to say thank you for bringing up point number 9, which you said always bringing a positive energy to the room really is infectious. I think that's one of the things that I think I have. I always try to bring positivity, because I mean, if you start from negativity, how is that gonna help anything?
I think this is a great point, and I can tell you from personal experience, whenever I've been asked to start a new project and had to be an employee, which I think I've mentioned I hate, but when I've started a new project, I've had to recruit people to make up the team that I'm going to be working with. And I recruit people I've worked with before, for the most part, and I recruit them for attitude. I can train them with anything. You know, we can handle any challenge as long as I've got people on board who I know are willing to be adaptable, who can laugh at things when we're in the midst of disaster, who are positive and collaborative. And so as I've gone through multiple projects, that's how I've built my team. And anytime I have hired someone new and they have not brought positive energy, I have simply never rehired them for the next project. Life's too short. And quite frankly, I like to have fun when I work. And I like the people who work with me to have fun too.
I agree.
We
Me
have
too.
a question from Heather. Does
Okay.
school library experience count as equivalent to public library assistant experience? Would public libraries, value school library experience?
Yes, they would. And they would especially value it if you were applying for a children's or youth services librarian. But you could highlight your ability to build relationships with your teachers as similar to an ability to build relationships with patrons. And your collaborative relationships that you had to have many of as a school librarian would make it easy for you to fit into a collaborative mode in a public library. But yes, it should transfer over fairly easily. Good question.
And show how you can tell how it does. You
Right.
can explain what you can do that relates to what they're doing.
Cheryl's got a really important point there. When you're in an applying for a job situation, you can't ever assume the hiring manager is going to figure out
Yes,
how your skills translate.
absolutely.
You have to go into that interview or in that cover letter and be able to say, I think I would do a great job for you here because you said that you need this, this, and this, and I've got this, this, and this, which transfers over beautifully because it applies to XYZ. You are always in the position of making your own case. One of the things that most astounded me when we interviewed Jesse Walker Lance, who was the #2 person in the Los Angeles County public library system, was he did a wonderful presentation, and it's a webinar up on the website, about panel hiring. And that when you go in to apply for that job, you're going to be interviewed by panels of people, which is apparently a fairly common practice. But he said something that absolutely stunned me. He said, you have to assume that no one on the panel has read your resume. And I said, wait a minute. That means like they have no idea why you're there, basically? And he said, yep, basically they have no idea why you're there. And you need to be able to tell everyone on that panel why you're the best person for that job and how terrific you think their organization is. Because they're not going to have a clue who you are or what you bring to the table.
I'd never thought of that, Kim, but that's a really good point.
I couldn't believe it. I kept saying, I think I asked him the same question like 4 times. Really? Really? It was offensive to me kind of in a way.
We write these gorgeous cover letters and we think, oh, they know all about us. But
absolutely.
No,
yes, and you've done the perfect resume, and that's why part of what you want to be doing while you're in grad school is building that portfolio, because what you're going to get hit with is, tell me about a time when you did X. Tell me about a time when you were faced with this. Tell me about a time. So what you want to be prepared to do when you go into an interview is tell stories. Tell stories that say, here was the problem, here's how I handled it, here was the outcome. Like mini business case studies. That's what you're going to say. That's how you're going to present yourself as, again, not just what you know, but what you can do with what you know and what you have done.
How you can present what you know, Kim. And one of the things that I always stress, memorize some answers. Don't be taught. Know what you're really, really good at and make sure you can fit it into almost anything that they ask.
Mm-hmm. And boy, if anybody's been watching the presidential conversations going on, you've seen everybody doing that. Here's the question I'd really like to answer now. you're kind of doing a variation. But it's also okay to say, that's a great question. It's never come up for me before, but if it did, I think this is how I would respond, or this is how I would approach it. Those kinds of things are okay because what you're showing is a thought process,
Yes.
which means I'm flexible, I'm adaptive, I can learn on my feet.
Perfect, Kim.
Thank you so much for this presentation, which has been so informative and insightful and helpful for all of us.
It's my pleasure. This is really fun for me.
Is it okay for students to contact you then with follow-up questions as
Absolutely.
they come in?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes,
Excellent.
and it can be from this presentation, or it can be 6 months from now. You know, I'm getting ready to apply for a job, or I'm thinking about this career path or whatever. I'm more than happy to help in any way I can.
Thank you so much, Kim. We're very grateful that you have taken this time to help us along our career paths as students.
One more question. Kim, can you publish or give us the main points that you have that you listed for us that we could send out to our class?
I certainly.
You know, all of those.
Okay, so Cheryl, should I just send a copy of that to you, or who should I send it to?
I think it'd be fun to send it out, so we could send it out as, I don't know, Leslie will figure out how we might be able to.
Yeah, I have copies of the slides, so I can adapt those as well.
Okay.
That would be wonderful, because I'm going to send out the whole presentation to a few people, to my classes, and I think that it would be fun to have, not fun, but it would be very informative to have your list.
And if there's any other way I can help in any of your classes, you know, if your faculty members are looking for someone who would talk about XYZ, I've had a very eclectic career, so I'm happy to talk about anything.
I'll be posting this for them, Kim.
Terrific.
It will introduce you.
We'll also be posting this to our YouTube channel, and we've been live streaming, I believe, as well.
Fantastic.
Cool. Well, I wish all of you the very best. Again, I am so impressed with all of you for what you are doing, what you are managing, what you are navigating through right now. But I would also say I've been doing my career for a number of decades, and I have loved all of it. And I think you can too. It's just that we've got superpowers. What can I say?
There you go, Kim. Thanks so much for being here. We love you.
All right, you all
Thank
take
you.
care.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, everybody who came out tonight.
Yes, thank
Executive
you.
Committee, Dr. D.
Thank you.
We have posted a lot of links in our chat box. Like the recent one was Kim's information and our YouTube channel. We will be sending out our newsletter and a follow-up email to this presentation with additional links for everyone.
Kim, what I was also thinking is, because there's so much good information here, I write the